Okay, let me show you a little bit, show me the technology affordance and constraint that's on our main course Google site. If you go to the sidebar, you'll see an item there underneath lesson items that says technology affordances and constraints. If you click on that, might take a little bit of time here to load. I'm not working from BYU, I'm working from home, and so sometimes our internet connection here sometimes is a little slow. I don't know, it's probably that way with you as well. This is the technology affordance and constraint worksheet, and like I said, we're not going to be talking about this in week 2, but we will talk about this week 3. But I just want you to see there, I put a couple of technologies on there and some of their affordances and some of their constraints. And I want you guys to start thinking early about this, particularly when we have the guest speakers come on week 3 and week 4, because you can ask them questions like, okay, well, what does that technology afford a teacher? What kind of, what does it afford a student? What kind of constraints are there attached? And you can ask questions to the teachers, and this will be a good way for you to kind of, and we're going to build basically this worksheet so that you have something that you can refer to later on. Once you leave my class or even leave the university, you'll have something here. So I'm hoping we're going to build some content that's usable and can be reused and used in the future. So this is basically, I just wanted to show you where it was on our course Google site and a little bit about that so you're familiar with that. And remember that on week 3, I'm going to be introducing this to you, okay? Thanks.
Hi, okay, welcome back. Before we go on to the copyright, I just wanted to give a really brief caveat in here. On the class blog assignment, I'm not sure if I explained to you my rationale for why I wanted to use that, but basically what I want to do is I want to build a sense of community in our class, not just among us as fellow students, but I also want to connect you to the outside world and build a community that kind of an outreach where you learn a little bit more about your community, a little bit more about things that are happening in your community. And so the class blog gives us an opportunity not only to build community among each other, but it's a public arena forum. So there are other people who will respond to your blogs. And so this will give you this kind of you open up a dialogue, which I think is very, very important. And so this is my real rationale for the class blog. And I think the best way to build community, certainly in an outreach kind of a style, is to use technologies that will afford that. And so one of the affordances of a blog technology is that it allows you to go outside the walls of your classroom and connect with people in the community. And so that's why I've used it. It's one of its affordances. And so as you're thinking about why you use technologies, just as I do the same thing as I'm picking technologies for this class, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about, well, what is this going to allow me to do? What is it going to afford me? And I'm also looking at some of the constraints. It used to be that bandwidth was a real problem. A lot of people didn't have internet connections. That would have been a constraint. That doesn't seem to be an issue anymore. We don't have that constraint. People have far more access to the internet. They have far more, the bandwidth issues have kind of gone down a little bit now with high-speed internet, and the cable companies offer that. So anyway, and then on the TPAC, and I just want to, we're not going to do this week. This is for week 3, but I want you to be aware a little bit about it. This is it's called a Technology Affordance and Constraint worksheet. And so I want to kind of show you briefly what that is and explain a little bit about it. So I'm going to do a really quick screencast to kind of show you what that is. Okay, now that I've showed you a little bit about the Technology Affordance and Constraint worksheet, what we're going to do now is I'm going to just talk a little bit about copyright and fair use. And there are a lot of resources for you to look at. So your goal this week is to kind of get into the information that's on the Google website, our course Google website, and kind of look at some of that information. It's very important that you understand the difference between copyright and fair use. And the information will teach you a little bit about those differences. Copyright basically means that it is property that is owned by someone. and they hold the rights to it. So they themselves can distribute it, they can copy it, they can adapt it, they can do anything they want to it. However, other people don't have that right. They can't copy or distribute or adapt it or modify it in any way. And so that's kind of the difference between copyright and fair use. Now, fair use, there are certain guidelines that you can use certain content under certain guidelines, and you'll learn about those guidelines in the resource material you're going to be reading. But basically, fair use will allow you to be able to use some material that is copyrighted under certain guidelines that are very, very strict. There's a third area too that you need to be aware of. It's called Creative Commons. It's also it's kind of it falls within the copyright laws, except that this is information that the people that own the information have given you certain rights to. You have rights, for instance, to modify it, to adapt it. There are rights that you can distribute it and redistribute what you create. There are rights where you can use it as long as you attribute or you credit the person that originally created it. And so you're going to be actually reading an article called The History of Copyright, and it'll give you a really good idea about it. And I'll talk a little bit about copyright, fair use, and the Creative Commons license. And so it'll give you a little bit of an idea, particularly with the internet. The Creative Commons has kind of come about because of all the amount of content that's on the internet. And it's kind of given people more flexibility to be able to reuse people's things, modify them, change them, and then use them, distribute them if they have the rights to do that. And there are certain common Creative Commons rights and licenses that you use, and you'll learn about those. There's 4 different ones. So this is a little bit about copyright. It's just a brief overview, but it's very important that you go through and you read the resources that have been provided. And also, you're going to take a quiz afterwards. And this quiz you can take as many times as you want to, but you need to get 100% on it. So you can go through the tutorial and the resources as many times as you want, and you can take the quiz as many times as you want until you get 100%. So just wanted to give you that real quick kind of overview of copyright. And then what I'll do is I'll take you out and show you the copyright information, how to access that.
Okay, copyright information. I'm still on our course Google site. You can access it if you want to go to week 2, you can do that. So you can go to week 2 and load that. There's also on the sidebar, you'll see that there is a copyright and fair use link, and you can click on that as well. So this thing is loading. Let it load here real quickly. I'm sorry again for the delay. There we go. All right. This is the copyright and fair use tutorial and quiz. And so it's going to take you through here. You need to read through some of this stuff. And it's kind of a basic introduction to fair use. You need to click on this link. It's a copyright and fair use resources page. On this page, you're going to see an articles that you need to look at, some material you need to read. The history of copyright is very important. And then there are 3, I believe, copyright videos, not very long, but it'll give you an idea of copyright laws, fair use laws. And then down at the bottom, there are some reading resources. They're PDF formats. They kind of give you some guidelines for teachers about fair use. These are very, very helpful. What you might want to do is you might want to create links to these articles on your own personal Google site so that you have access to those. This is a very, very important information for you to know. So I just wanted to show you that. Let's go back here to week 2 again. To the copyright and fair use page. As you go down here, you need to look at, there's some ways to cite, and I've given some good examples and bad examples, so that might be helpful to you as well. There's some common mistakes that people make, and of course at the end is where you take the copyright quiz online. And so it says here that you need to score 100%, and if you don't, you won't receive full credit for the assignment. So you need to make sure you do that. So that's really the copyright assignment.
this is a lot of information for the first week, and it's kind of hard because there's lots of information that I need to convey to you in the first couple of weeks. Unfortunately, we couldn't meet the second week of class, or the third, well, I guess it's the second week of class. And so I'm having to make sure that you get all this information. We know what's going on. On week 3, I will do a very, very quick kind of a summary and make sure everybody's okay with what we've discussed, see if there's any questions that you have about anything. But I just wanted to kind of wrap up this week. I wanted to make sure that you guys update your portfolio links on your website, particularly if there are students that have been added to your group or you guys kind of changed around groups and stuff. We make sure those things are updated and that you make sure you email me those updates, okay? So if there are any other questions, I'll let you go for this week. Again, if you have any questions, you need to contact me. Please feel free to email me. You can text me if you'd like. I know my information is on the course syllabus. And I will try again, like I said, to try to get back with you within 24 hours or less. So have a good time this week with the material. I think you're going to learn a lot. Some of it's very interesting. And I look forward to seeing you guys all in class on January 24th. Okay? Thanks. Bye.